Hey, Sox fans. Welcome to Good Guys Talk Back, a local fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast, hosted by Nick Murawski and Pat Hester.
Hey, Sox fans. Welcome back to Good Guys Talk Back. Hey, I am Nick Murawski. This is episode 303. What a weekend for our Chicago White Sox. But yeah, we'll get into it in just a moment. We really appreciate you joining us live on Sunday night, 9:15 on the Good Guys Talk Back YouTube channel. Click the like button, smash it, do whatever you need to do, subscribe, pass it along to other Sox fans in your life. Audio available absolutely everywhere. Sydney, Greg, John, Scott, so great to have you with us, and so many more. Our Sox, they are 2-7, very different vibe than the last time we talked. Breaking it all down with me, my best friend, diehard Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Hey, buddy. We went into the weekend tied for first.
Yeah.
It was. I woke up Friday and I thought this is a 2-4 baseball team that is tied somehow for first in the, as you've coined it, the ever forgiving AL Central.
Yeah.
And we close. We put this weekend to bed, and we get swept in Detroit. Not a surprise. Today was a little bit of a gut punch, I would say. I was listening on the radio. I got all the way to the ninth inning, and I thought, well, I can just shut her down. I had some things to do. I'll just double check that they put this baby to bed, and that wasn't the case. So here we are. Here we stand, Nick. We're in the thick of it. It's a wrong road to hoe, but we're gonna try and stay somewhat positive. And you know, we were aware of what was going to happen this season, and it's coming to fruition as we thought.
Yeah, it's still ridiculously early, but you can kind of you can feel it. You just you know it. That was crazy going in. Everyone was 2-4 into that series. Couple of really, one definite heartbreaker. I mean, the Minnesota series started off. Wow. I thought we were going to have to re-record because it was, they put up 9 on the Twins in the opener, pounded the Twins. And then they lost the next 2 games, and there were some weather issues, some disruptions. I mean, April baseball is rough. So the Sox have now lost 5 in a row. They are 2-7, last place now. Absolutely last place in the ever-forgiving AL Central. And they're in some company with Colorado. They've got 2 wins. So Sox have 2 wins. Colorado has 2 wins. So I'm talking about all of baseball. Okay. Again, we're only 9 games in. But Sox at 2 wins, Colorado at 2 wins. Atlanta only has 1 win, Pat.
That's surprising.
They are 1-8. How about that as a surprising record?
If you and I are in the Jewel of the South, Atlanta, Georgia, right now doing a podcast, we're panicking. I mean, we're hitting the panic button. Yeah. And I'm wondering what the hell is going on with our baseball team, because that would be extremely what's happening with us and in Colorado. It was expected. You were expecting those 2 teams to probably vie for being the 2 worst teams of baseball, but Atlanta, because of what they have there, and I don't know what I'm not following the Braves on a day in and day out basis. I don't know if they're fighting injuries. I don't know if they've got catastrophe happening, but I would imagine they'll pull themselves out of it and not be in the same type of conversation as the Rockies and the White Sox. So, but yeah, a little surprising there. But it is, as you say, the beginning of the year is always interesting to watch. You really don't know, what you might get from a baseball team coming out of the camp and into cold weather from warm weather. It's kind of a crapshoot a little bit early on, and some of it too, Nick, is the way that managers will manage their pitching staff. Pulling guys well before they would normally pull them in the middle of the year. So it's a strange time of year. It's an interesting time of year. Some folks are enjoying some excitement. Our team is not, but yeah, I don't really have much hope going forward as we continue on through this season.
Howard, welcome. Sean, welcome. John had a good question. Or statement I want to get to in just a moment. But Howard says in the chat, how are Vargas, Amaya, Ellard still on the major league roster? And unfortunately, it's because that's what Getz did. I mean, there's very little that happened. There's nowhere else to go. And I think that can be said for the bullpen as well. There wasn't any big gets in terms of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Guess why should there have been? I mean, we all knew. It's just unfortunate, though, when you know your team is not going to be very competitive and it's going to be one of those growing pains types of years, and we're supposed to just always look to the future, and that's where our answers will be. Well, I want to see a major league ready team. I'm not going to be following the minor league Sox. It's just like, let me know when they're ready, especially after the last rebuild. And we're going to get to some of Colson Montgomery's numbers. Whoa. Oh, man.
Oh, I would like to talk a little Colson Montgomery.
Wow.
That's an interesting thing to digest.
But we have to deal with these guys because that's what the offense was. Reclamation projects, not spending anything, just hoping some guys would emerge. I mean, this bullpen is just horrendous. I mean, there are positives. We'll talk starting pitching in a little bit, but it's, you could say apathy. Why would you watch this garbage? You knew it's our garbage, though. We talk about this as being White Sox therapy, and I'm going to continue to watch. I don't care. So you just want a better product. And John, John had in the chat here with Reinsdorf double downing, I guess, and saying that he's not going to sell. I heard about that this past weekend. Well, that's a big gut punch, right?
Yeah.
Because we did a whole show, what was it, 3-4 episodes with the Ish brothers and all that excitement, and that's really cooled off. That is absolutely cooled off. And with the way the season has started, which, again, not a shocker, but still, there were winnable games this past week. Today was a winnable game. Sunday was a winnable game. Tuesday against Minnesota, absolutely winnable. And then this news with Reinsdorf, it's just so bitter. It's really, really difficult.
Yeah, that's I don't know what to believe half the time when it comes to this story with the ownership, and because you hear so many things, and the interesting part is, if you look back on that, did he pull a fast one on Ishbia? I mean, he had his sights set and ready to kind of launch and go with the Minnesota Twins, and that was going to be his thing. And it's seemingly, like we talked about, we were actually tipping our cap to Jerry. Maybe this is a great successor to me to take over this team. So by him saying that, is he just saying, well, when I'm dead, this is when it'll transfer over to somebody else, and he's not going to sell? I didn't hear that. I guess I'm living in right now, Nick, a series of my home to a practice facility to a game with the kids right now. So I miss this. So tell me more about what.
Well, I just think that was the big takeaway. I'll have to refresh myself on some of the other, little details, and even if there were many details, but, you're not alone with what you're doing. This is, of course, a very busy time for a lot of people with traveling, Little League and baseball and softball are ramping up. And, we got like 2 more months of the school year, and things are crazy. And in a way, you're not missing anything. If you're not able to follow this team because of your life, of what's going on, and then, throw in the fact that it's very difficult to actually want to watch this team, because of what they've done with, broadcast and, stream this, and, you got to jump through these hoops. you're not missing anything, So if you're like, oh, I really would like to watch this thing, no, you don't. But if you do have time and you're trying to prioritize it, and it's in the background, and you're watching and paying attention, you're ripping your hair out, because even though you knew this was going to happen, it doesn't make it any easier. I mean, I can lie to myself and say, well, I knew they were going to be bad, so it kind of softens things. Maybe, but deep down, I'm still pissed. Still pissed at the direction and what the future holds, and the decisions that continually get made. Doesn't make things for me as a fan really any easier.
Yeah, it doesn't. I just Googled it real quick here, and I'll just read it. Just a very short sentence here. The 89-year-old Reinsdorf has made it perfectly clear to his friends that he has zero interest in selling as long as he remains in good health, and he has rebuffed all minority investor Justin Ishbia's request to purchase controlling interests of the team. Wow. What a change.
What happened?
That just sucks the joy out of my life right now, because to be honest with you, that was all I really cared about. I've told you, like, I care about big picture stuff right now. I'm not in the
either you froze up, Pat, or I froze up, but hopefully that was not on my end. Are you back, Pat?
I'm back.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, you were excited. You were talking, maybe potentially getting a ticket package or season tickets if this thing came to fruition. You were really flush. This was exciting. It was exciting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we really ate that up and had that moment. It was a short-lived moment.
Yeah.
That this could really happen sooner rather than later.
But if he remains in good health, so we just have to hope for poor health here soon, and then maybe things will happen.
And that's sad. It is sad. It's just like how I said, I hate to be rooting for the Sox to lose last year, because I knew that was how Pedro was going to get the hell out of Dodge, and that finally happened. I didn't like that way of being a fan, and I'm not trying to wish for somebody to die just so we can actually have someone come in to run the organization like it should be run in the city of Chicago. Everybody boasts and talking about the Dodgers and this, that, and the other, and how well of an organization they are, and look where they are in LA, and everyone wants to come. Everybody should be wanting to come to Chicago. That's how it should be put together, where an ownership group is gobbling up every available talent, that there is always this assumption when free agency starts, well, the White Sox are going to go after those guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chicago. Look at what they've done. Look at the crop of players and the farm system. Look what they've done. They're feared. That's what it should be like. And we are nowhere near that right now. And that news with Jerry, it feels like now it's just a million miles away.
I just wish he'd stop talking. Like the fact that he's like anything comes out about what he says. Because anytime he does speak, it's not good. It's like bad news Jerry coming to town. It's again, it sucked the joy out of me a little bit, as you mentioned that just now. But
so
who knows?
I on Saturday, I think Bob brought it up in the chat, and I think this happened on Saturday over the weekend, of course. And this was a head scratcher too. Bob said, I understand the bad hitting and pitching. Why is Corey Lee standing 3 feet in front of a home on a 4-set home? Why is Baldwin getting picked off first by the catcher? I completely agree. And they went at it on the post game, Chuck and Ozzie. Ozzie and Chuck were lockstep on this. And I don't get it. I don't understand why Corey Lee is so far off. That throw's coming home. That's the fundamental stuff. That felt very Pedro-esque. Confusion, not sure, missed signals. I don't know. That one was really unfortunate. The amount of walks that are being issued, especially by our bullpen. Now, the starters, they came through a second time. Okay. And I mean, they weren't unhittable like they were that first time, where they're tops and all of the bigs codify. I mean, everybody's blasting stuff out about the Chicago White Sox starting staff that first time through. And Shane Smith should have got the win on Tuesday. He left the game with I believe it was a 3-0 lead. Someone will have to check me on that. And that Murphy, wow, he is a mess. He's an absolute mess. I don't want to see this guy. Well, I mean, we're going to have to because there's no other arms. I don't want to see him. He was in there again in the Detroit series quite a bit. He gave up, I think, 5 unanswered runs. You got Smith's family there. He threw such a great outing. That should have been a win. That was late in the game. Might have been the 6th or 7th. That should have been a win. Not with this bullpen. Not in this year.
Yeah, it's but it's like a broken record, Nick. When you're talking about walks, you're talking about the inability to execute just fundamental baseball. And at some point, we keep hearing, this will change under this regime, under this leadership, under this manager, and you can excuse away these types of things and say, oh, these guys are young. I can't excuse stuff like that anymore, Nick. I just can't. I don't care how old or young these guys are. Because when I think about it, just from my perspective as a father of young kids that play travel sports, these are things that kids at 8U, 9U, 10U, 13U, and all these guys have played at several levels. If you're in the major leagues, you've been playing baseball a long time. These are not things that you should be corrected on now as you're in the major leagues. I just don't understand. And why it's always our guys. And it's really hard for me to kind of fathom it.
Pat, I don't know. Do you think there's like the lights are too bright situation for some folks, where they get into these situations and maybe they've practiced it a bunch of times. Maybe it does feel like muscle memory, but when it is happening in a game, there's just a freeze up. I mean, we've all kind of had those moments, those brain freezes, those brain farts in real life where it's like, man, I've done this a bunch of times. How come when I'm kind of put on the spot, I miss? That's the only explanation I can have, because you're right. These guys have been playing for a long time. Why it continues to happen, and it does feel like it's with us. Although, to be fair, I'm not putting every other organization under a microscope. I don't watch, the other team. I don't watch a ton of extra baseball, because after. But then again, it is kind of refreshing to see a team like, oh wow, you guys play the game the right way. That's fun. That is fun. That must be fun for your fans.
Yeah.
That follow your team. It was an ugly weekend in Detroit. Sox were swept, of course. Little to no offense. Where is Luis Robert Jr.? I mean, is this what we're getting? Is this what the Sox were holding on to, demanding 2 top prospects in some team's farm system for Luis Robert Jr.? 1 for 10 in the series, slashing 161, 250, 194 with a 4.44 OPS on the season. 11 strikeouts and 4 walks in 9 games. Robert Jr. has yet to hit a home run this season. Man, you just got to throw this guy some junk, something off speed, something with some spin. He is flailing, chasing. There is little discipline right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think right now he's garnering those MVP votes that Getz thought he would be getting. Maybe in some alternate universe he is, but not in this one. Again, part of you was all of us were hoping that he would come out and get hot to start, but it's just more than likely not going to happen for him because of a couple of reasons, in my opinion. One, and I hate to blame it on this, but the weather. It's just not really good for offensive play, especially for a guy like him. to come out and play well in the cold weather. So that's one thing. To the protection. I mean, before he went out of left the game today, Andrew Benintendi is backing him up, right, hitting behind him. So you've got zero. We've talked about this. You've got zero protection around him at all. It's cold out. It doesn't surprise me, Nick, that he's not performing right now. But at this point, do you just continue? I mean, we're going to be on this trade watch for forever and a day.
You got to keep playing them, right?
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. You're just going to keep playing, keep putting them out there.
But let's say he gets on a 2-week heater, right? And maybe it starts in May. We start getting to some 60s and 70s here routinely, and let's say he gets on a heater. Do you? I don't know if you're going to get anybody that's going to offer you anything at that point. Anyway, it's probably going to come down to the trade deadline as it is. But do you I would get the itchy trigger finger. I'd be like, yeah,
sure,
whatever you got, I'll take it.
Well, I think Getz would and the organization would, but no other club. I mean, it's almost unheard of. They're going to want to know, well, this is about the time that he gets hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like towards the beginning, like May, maybe early June. Got to pay attention to that. And there are a lot of teams, that teams are still obviously figuring out where they're at as a club.
Yeah.
You wait, right? Because you want to have a bunch of different bids. And you've got clubs that, man, May, June, they don't know where they're going to be at. And then by the trade deadline, things definitely change for clubs where they start trending upward and they're in it. And they're like, hey, wow, I didn't see this coming. And they become some of that bidding war. But the body of work for Luis Robert Jr., right? The resume. I mean, even if he goes on a heater or a tear, you're still as an exec, like, I still don't know.
Yeah.
I still don't know what I'm really getting with this guy. Why am I going to give you? What am I going to unload my farm system for this guy? Because he had 3 weeks where he was hitting the ball, 4 weeks. And what's his overall track record, right? So I really don't know what they're going to do with this guy.
You might just you might just have him. He just might be your guy.
He's just
right?
ours now
because
he's ours.
I don't think Getz could ever get what he truly wants for him. And I don't know that you really necessarily have to settle. I mean, I don't know. It's such a head scratcher with him because the expectation and the hope and all the stuff, like the hope on this team and the players at some point is just, you could write a book on the hope that you had for so many guys, but this was the guy. This was the next superstar. After, you could probably look at Frank Thomas as being the last true superstar this team has had. And you were looking for that in this guy, and it's just it ain't happening. So,
you've had some pitching superstars.
True.
That's what I think the Sox have been like. Chris Sale, would you call Chris Sale a superstar? He sure was. I remember waiting for those Chris Sale starts.
Yeah.
He was cooking. Those were like must watch. He was so damn fun to watch. I don't think obviously not the longevity of a Frank Thomas. Maybe it wasn't enough for him to be called a superstar, but he was damn exciting.
Yeah, you could sell me on that point, but I'm looking at it. I guess maybe I'm looking more at like a offensive MVP type guy, like
Jose Abreu, MVP 2020.
Okay.
Just watch how you refer to Jose Abreu. He fizzled out, but we have to remember for what he was. He was
that
pretty awesome.
60-game season was that was pretty awesome. I would put it, the asterisk there pretty big on that award in that season. Yes, you're right. He did. But I
co-sign Howard. Howard says Paul Konerko. My thoughts on Paul. I almost have to excuse myself in the conversation.
Howard, you should be ashamed of yourself.
No, not at all.
Paul Konerko superstar. No.
Howard, I'm with you.
Was he ever an MVP?
Don't get wrapped up in all these alphabet soup stuff.
I'm just asking you.
It was
You a
not.
question.
Paul
Okay.
Konerko was not an MVP.
Okay. If you're not an MVP, you're nowhere near superstar level.
Kind of have lofty expectations, Pat. That's fine.
When you say the word superstar, it has the word super in it.
Oh, he's got a statue. The man has a statue.
Well, Jerry loves to give I mean, you might get a statue someday. You got a 10-game package. You might walk in and see, there's the Nick statue.
Everybody's name up somewhere that bought into a 10-game package in 2025.
You get that.
That'd be a list. That'd be a list of about 18, 25 people.
Well,
I'll be happy to be on that list. Well, we chewed up Luis Robert Jr. pretty good there. I don't, I hate to say this is what it is, but we feel like there should be more, of course. We've seen some of that, just like with some other folks that have come through. Moncada, Jimenez. I don't know. We'll be watching. Andrew Vaughn. Oh boy. Andrew
Vaughn, by the way.
Your guy. Yeah. 2 for 11 in the Detroit series, slashing 167, 194. Tree with a 537 OPS, 6 strikeouts and a walk. Hey, he's got 1 home run though on the season. Nothing that is going to scare you right now from Andrew Vaughn. Worried or just completely indifferent, and this is what we're going to get from Andrew Vaughn. What do you think?
I'm completely indifferent. I mean, I have zero expectations for an Andrew Vaughn, and I sometimes wonder, with both of these guys, with Robert and Vaughn, I would like to see like the experiment, like if I was a scientist, and be able to like, okay, now let's put him in this situation and see how he reacts. Here's the control. Here's the test that we're going to do. You plop these guys, and I'm not saying you plop them on the Dodgers or you plop them on, the Yankees or something. Let's put them in like a, somewhat respectable organization, a steady organization, and see if it all changes. I would have to believe that I think Robert would be much better, again, on many, many other teams. I think Andrew Vaughn would be a much different player if you plop him in and put him on, I don't know, name the team that's not the worst organization in all of sports. He just seems like, the pedigree and the talk about him was.
What if you put him on the Twins? Let's keep it in the AL Central. What if you put him on the Twins? What if you put him on the Royals?
I would say he'd be more successful with any other team in our division than he is with the White Sox. And it doesn't mean that I'm not saying that he's going to be Mr. World Beater, but I'm just saying he could be a productive player. He's a below production player. I don't know what he is in his WAR. I don't watch all that stuff. I don't care, but he's got to be in his career a negative player.
He was the overall pick, the 3rd overall pick, first round, 3rd overall pick in 2019. Golden Spikes. I mean, I listened to many of Chuck Garfien podcasts way back when on an Andrew Vaughn. People breaking down his swing. People talking about just a stud. This guy's going to be an absolute stud. Some of the Steve Stone stuff over the last couple of years, that this guy can just rake. I don't think Stone used that terminology. I think he probably said something like he is going to be a fine, productive hitter. But where is that? Have we seen it? I don't even know if he's been on a heater. Has he ever been like on a 3-week Andrew Vaughn heater? Watch out. This is the season of Andrew Vaughn.
Not that I can recall. I mean, maybe we have recency bias with what we've seen over the last.
I mean, even Mercedes. Mercedes had a heater.
Yeah,
where we had just pandemonium. Burgers were named after him, and he had his name shaved into the side of his head.
I mean, that's superstar.
He was for 3 weeks. He was a superstar.
Yeah,
maybe less. Yeah.
Yeah, again, you could tell me that Andrew Vaughn packed up his bags and drove away into the night and never came back, and I wouldn't care. Like
If he pulled like what's that quarterback from Indianapolis, Andrew Luck, and was just like, "Hey, I'm done," I'd been like, "Okay,
yeah,
that's fine. That is fine." Hey, actually, thank you, Andrew Vaughn. Now we don't have to have these conversations anymore. We could figure out what's really going to work from us at first base. That's sad, isn't that sad?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can point the finger in so many different directions, the scouting and the development, but how many duds have there been, you know, with first round picks that the Sox have had? It's sad that we're going to have to hang probably Vaughn's jersey up in that category.
We should do that. We don't have a White Sox Hall of Fame. You've talked about it before. Like it'd be kind of a cool thing to have.
Need it, yeah.
Whenever the new ballpark is built at some point. I'm hearing maybe Arlington Heights now with the Bears. I saw something come up.
Good.
I haven't read this article. Maybe it could be fake news, but I saw something pop up on my feed. Anyway, maybe that's the better idea. The Hall of Duds, like you just hang their jerseys of guys that we had these hopes for, and
well, okay. So next year, Pat, we'll be done with the whole 125, and you know that should be lean into this. Do giveaways of the duds. Give these bobbleheads out of just the ones that we missed on this one. We're going to have some fun at our expense. You know,
that's a good idea.
Give out a Nick Madrigal bobblehead and just own it. Just wow. Whoops a daisy.
Like can you make a bobblehead out of like pulled hamstrings? Like all like the injuries? Like I don't know what you do, but that would be kind of cool. A WebMD bobblehead. Here's all the guys that have been oft injured over the several years, which would be
it's just really sad. It's really sad, you know. I mean, it's one thing where you obviously you're losing, and at that point we're losing and we're getting a high pick. You know, we weren't stuck with, you know, you were only going to be able to draft it in this certain situation. And you just miss out, man, completely miss out. And then there's this whole tizzy of Andrew Benintendi and like, oh, man, this was the guy that Hahn wanted. He finally comes back to the organization that was going to draft him. It's like, yeah, well, what did we miss? We missed out on the few years that he, you know, was productive with Boston, you know, a little bit with the Royals. Is that what we missed out on?
Yeah.
Okay.
The average production that he got, he's overpaid for what he is now. You always pay, you're always going to be paying a premium on guys based on their past performance, but you hope that they can have a little bit of something. And now he's on day to day. What did he strain, like an oblique or something today, or he strained something today, and he left the game. So.
Yeah, after a couple at bats, Nick Maton came in.
Yeah,
I mean, you look up and down this lineup from today. Talkman, Jankowski was sent down. Talkman, Robert Jr., Benintendi, Maton, Vaughn, Thais, Vargas. Vargas was hitting leadoff not too long ago. He got dropped. Baldwin. I mean, give me a break. You know, Amaya, Michael A. Taylor. Yeah, it's no wonder that there's no offense.
You could have just read the dictionary to me, Nick, and it would have been about the same reaction I would have. Like, who? What?
Yeah, you can. So what's going on? Where are our torpedo bats? Are we not using torpedo bats? Do we have the bad torpedo bats? I mean, you've heard about this, right? This is
I think they banned the torpedo bats after they said they're okay. No. I thought they said no moss on the torpedo bats.
This was from Rob Manfred recently.
Manfred Man?
The Manfred Man. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred says the torpedo bat is absolutely good for baseball. After it rose prominence last week following a battery of home runs by the Yankees. I believe that issues like the torpedo bat and the debate around it demonstrate the fact that baseball still occupies a unique place in our culture, Manfred said, because people get into a complete frenzy over something that's really nothing at the end of the day. The bats comply with the rules.
Well, I thought they said goodbye to them. So if they're still legal, why
I don't think we've got the right torpedo bats. That could be very well the problem.
Well, I don't. Why wouldn't you want to take every advantage you could, like to improve your offense? But I guess you still have to hit the ball, so that would be something. It doesn't help you.
That's true. You have to make contact. That's absolutely true. And speaking of trying to make contact, Colson Montgomery, the chosen one, the savior, he's struggling. He's struggling to do just about anything. 8 games in, to his minor league season, 18 strikeouts in 31 at-bats. 18 strikeouts, slashing 097, 200, 194. Okay, that's your future shortstop, Colson Montgomery.
It's a little bit sickening, and I think even if I heard this correctly, before he was sent down, he had that one home run in spring training, and boy, I ate that up with a spoon, and I was excited. I think it was maybe one of his first at bats, but he ended up striking out half the time before he got sent down. So you combine that with what he's done now in the minors. I mean, it's pretty gruesome to actually think about. And the fact that, you couple that with last year's struggles, because it wasn't like he was, dominating the minor league system last year. Otherwise, he would have got called up at some point last year. It's a little bit troublesome right now. And I would have to think that, a guy like him may be pressing a little bit. But is he the next jersey to go up on the rafters of busts? Oh. I mean, we pinned a lot of hope on him. Again, that word hope on him. And boy, oh boy. This is an original thought by Pat Hester, but if he couldn't make this team, I mean, how bad does it really say that he is at this point?
I think there's absolute concern. It's way too early to put him in that rafter, of course, but yeah, that's what happens with these young guys, these prospects in an organization like the White Sox. We're not going to throw around money right now. We're not going to be signing any key free agents, any stars, any superstars, Pat. Okay. None of those are coming to the organization. They're not going to trade for any of them because we don't have a lot of, fodder to do that. So we have to pin all this hope on guys like Montgomery, guys like, some of our pitchers like Schultz. Hagen Smith had a good outing recently. I mean, our pitching seems to be, especially starting pitching, there's a theme there. There's a lot of positive to take away from that. But offense, wow, no bueno. Not good. And so that's the troubling part is, okay, there are no other superstars that are coming over. So we have to like grow these superstars, and we put all this hope into guys like Moncada or Jimenez and Robert and Andrew Vaughn and Colson Montgomery. Like, wow, I can't wait. And again, way too early, but whoa, what we're seeing right now, it's troubling.
Well, at some point, the team is going to have to realize you have to buy your offense. As you mentioned, they've been able to develop pitching over the years. It's always gotten to the point where you have to get rid of it because there's no use in keeping guys when you can't win games anyway. So you sell off these guys and hoping to restock. But at some point you have to go, guys, we have to buy the talent. We just have to. We have to spend dollars on guys that can play offensive baseball. We're just not very good at it. But again, the constraints of what Chris Getz can do and can't do is it's no shock of what he's allowed to spend on this ball club. So I don't know if it continues this way, Nick, with this ownership, and it seems like it's going to for a little while. We're in a really bad cycle right now. I don't know when we come out of it. I mean, my good friend Jonathan Hood said to me the other day, because I saw him on Friday, he keeps saying 2032 is when he thinks he'll be competitive again. Now, I don't know if that's tongue in cheek. Now,
Wow.
Hoodie he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
He likes to joke around, but that's 7 years from now. I don't know that is not that unrealistic.
He could be playing the age card with Jerry on that. That's boy, I thought I was really low tonight, Pat. That's really that's attached an anchor. Josh had a good point here. Why isn't Corey Lee getting starts at DH or even first at this point? The dude is hitting. I mean, like one of the only people that is hitting and doing anything offensively. Had a freeze at catcher. I don't know again what he was doing in that game on Saturday, standing 3 feet in front of home plate, but the dude can hit. You got to find him opportunities. Maybe he's not going to be a catcher, but maybe he could be a useful DH right now, or switch him to first base because Vaughn's doing absolutely nothing.
You think that's an easy enough switch? I mean, I
Yes.
get it that you think it is like okay, you're slow, you probably can't run, you're.
I would say
you think so? Okay,
I would say try it. What do you? I mean, why not? I want to see the offense. I got to have the offense involved.
Yeah, I got to have more cowbell. I get
Didn't
it.
Carlos didn't Oscar Colas take reps at first?
Oh yes, and he was absolutely brutal.
They tried to get him somehow into the mix of things.
Poor Oscar Colas. What do you think Oscar Colas is up to these days?
Did he get demoted to Double-A? Is he down in Birmingham now?
He very would be.
That's a shame. Oh, there's another rafter. That's another. That's another
Oscar
jersey.
Colas. Come on down.
That is another jersey up in the rafter. And a lot of these jerseys, folks, these folks that completely never even did anything substantial that we were expecting. I mean, this was all forced to us by administration.
This at some point, somebody's just got to be an average ball player. I mean, I don't even know what average is anymore, but I mean, can you just hang around the league? I mean, we don't
Zach Collins. See, here I am thinking about all these other rafter jerseys. Zach Collins.
Oh, well, warning track power of Zach Collins. Yes. One of our favorites.
Wait for him to get has been average. Of all of these people that we've talked about since around 2016 or so, has there been one that's just okay? That was pretty average.
Yeah, we talk very glowingly about a guy, and he'll have a bobblehead night coming up soon. Is Ray Durham, right? We really but Ray Durham was no crazy holy cow, all-star game every year, Hall of Fame type player. But he was a good player. Can we just have more guys like that? Like, can we just have?
That was players? Because there were superstars, Pat. And I mean, superstar. We had Frank Thomas. You had Robin Ventura. Okay, you had some offense around. You needed a sure-handed second baseman. You needed a guy that was able to just be able to handle himself with the bat. Didn't need to do any more, but consistent. That was the beauty of that.
I suppose. I mean, but is it so hard to ask just for some of these guys to come up and just be guys that can play in the league? I mean, they may not be around this organization their whole career, but can we just have some guys that can play?
That should be a tagline or a slogan.
Maybe it should come up in the interview process. I can see that you have a nice resume here. My first question right off the cuff: can you play baseball? If the answer is no, move on.
Come out to the ballpark. Get just a taste of average.
I would love that. I would kill for average right now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we think back to that 81 and 81 season under, was it La Russa and who else? Who took over for him? That oh boy, Miguel, was it
Cairo, right?
Yes, that was they combined for an 81-81, I believe.
Boy, I would kill.
We thought that was dejecting after winning the division.
Yeah,
we thought that was, and you know what? We still should have thought that way, because when you win the division and you had that crop of players and you added, I even think, onto that, there's no way you should have been. And in this ever forgiving division, that should have never happened. That was,
but it did happen.
It did.
And I would kill for a 500 season.
Well, this crop of starting pitchers, though, again, it's early. I've enjoyed Perez. He threw on Sunday just fine. Just fine. Yeah. I mean, his first outing in a Sox uniform this year, he gave me Burley kind of Quintana vibes.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever went above 90 miles per hour.
No.
He just had that kind of rock you to sleep, hit your corners, really, got you to beat the ball down in the ground. I really like that performance. That was a fun performance.
Well, if you like to watch a guy just pitch, I mean, that's exactly what you get right there. And it's something that I enjoy watching, guys that you don't have to blow everybody away and strike everybody out. There's the art of pitching that can still win in this league. And I wish more guys would, kind of adhere to that. And it's easier said than done, but good control, good movement, pitch to your defense, keep your pitch count low. To me, that's still something that can win in baseball. And the max effort era that we're in just seems to have put those kind of guys on the side. So it's nice to see it when it's there.
Greg suggested the new tagline, "The kids can play?" Question mark. Which I like.
You bring that back. You add the question mark.
That was, I think, maybe the 99 2000 tagline, perhaps.
Yeah. Almost as good as what was the one we had? Because it's baseball, or
appreciate the game. Such a great one. That's when you know your team is going to be absolutely awful, is when they roll out an "appreciate the game" slogan. Yeah.
I do like the kids can play question mark, and maybe with like the thinking emoji, like little face with the finger up to the mouth, like the kids can play, or like the shoulder shrug, like that would be good.
I still think working average in somehow just that really lets you know, hey, you're seeing some Sox baseball. But we're not there yet. We're not at average yet. We're below average. So
we were at average for a very brief moment in time this year.
Someone mentioned it in the chat here this evening. Did you see what could be the leaked new City Connect uniforms?
I didn't. Maybe I should Google that real quick. Are they?
It was. I think it's a Bulls White Sox combo. It's a red, looks like jersey vest with Chicago across the chest in black and black pinstripes. That can't be their new Nike City Connect.
If I'm looking at this correctly, it's basically a Bulls jersey.
And it has the Sox logo, maybe from the 59 era, the Go-Go Sox with the wings and the sock.
Yeah, that's not good. No. Why? You had something that people actually.
Yeah. It sure seems like it's
you do things that people like, and then you change it to this. That's something that anybody wants.
it's just, well, it's pretty obvious that that's a Reinsdorf move, right? Of how to
You
kind
think
of
so? You think so?
Well, I just thought I'd say it. I'd actually
Common
say it.
denominator could be between these two organizations. Let's try and figure that one out. So when do they unveil that then? Are they just still doing the City Connect every Monday night type of thing, or
That's right, Pat. That was a thing. That was Monday City Connect, Southside jerseys. I haven't seen any advertisements for that.
would you go
come through?
Are you going to go out and get yourself one of these jerseys, Nick?
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, no, but I'm sure like in a couple months, I'll be like standing there at Grandstand, like scratching. Hey, you got any of those new City Connects, man? I got to have those. Those ones with the red vest and the.
Well, do you have the South Side? Do you have anything South Side? Okay.
Absolutely. I've got a hoodie. I've got the jersey. I've got the hat.
Yeah, this is putrid. I can't believe that they would wear that.
You know, what's disappointing, Pat, is speaking of jerseys, again, the 125 celebration here, and some still fuming over the no patch. Just put a patch on the jersey sleeve. Keep it on the hat. I thought that was a great
Nick
look.
Murawski mad. Just never ceases to bring a smile to my face.
It's those things that just get me. Wear some other jerseys. Celebrate your 125.
Yeah.
If this is an MLB thing, just say, hey, gang, Jerry and Manfred are tight. We're celebrating 125. And they'd say, well, how come you don't have a patch on your sleeve? And they'd say, well, we decided we weren't going to go patch. We did it for one game with the hat. And we just completely went, okay, fine. What are you asking? I'm asking, can we wear a bunch of different uniforms from our different eras? We've got like 35 different uniforms that we can roll out. Some of them are being given away as giveaways in hoodie form. Can we wear a different decade each month on our Sundays? Come on. I would be really enthralled by something like
that. Oh my goodness. I agree with you though, 100%. There, you've got a great line of past jerseys. That's one thing that this organization has been known for is the uniform changes over the years. Some misses, some have been great jerseys. I still like and they wore them at one point. I think this is the 1917 jersey with the big S and the small O and X within the S.
Well, they wore that
stars on it.
They wore that in 2001.
Okay.
They were celebrating, I think, 100 years of being in the American League. That's when Jose Canseco was on the team. And that was their Sunday unis, I think. It had the American flag on the sleeve. Those were sharp. Those played well.
Like you put that out there, you put like the late 80s script White Sox, the Bobby.
Can you imagine if they unveiled those? I mean, that's really coming around again.
Yeah.
Those that would be fun. They had the 59s during the 2005 season, I believe.
You're right.
They would wear those from time to time, the 1959s. They've worn the 1972s, the Reds, the red pinstripe, that has been worn. They wore the 1968 powders on a road game several years ago in Oakland. Those were some sharp jerseys. Obviously, we know all about the 83s. There's a lot that can be celebrated. I just thought this was the year to maybe do it, and there's not a lot going on with your team, with players. I love the promos. I love the giveaways. I love all that. They've really tried to commemorate 125 in that aspect, but do it with the jerseys, do it on the field.
Yeah.
Get yourself a patch.
Can someone who's ever listening to our show that works for the organization that's in charge of patches, can you please get some patches together for Nick? That would make his day. I mean, it would. We could do another hour on just the patch, I think.
Matthew is asking about, did you mean the Field of Dreams jersey, Pat?
No, not the Field of Dreams jersey. The one I'm talking about,
which is another sharp jersey. Boy,
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I can't remember the year. I'd have to look it up, but it had the big S and the O was in the top part of the S and the
there was stars in the S, right? Yeah, the red, white, and blue. It's the one I completely told you about, Jose Canseco.
Okay.
Look up Jose Canseco White Sox.
All right.
2001 red, white, and blue star jersey SOX.
Here we go. Jose
put that all in the search.
When you say it out loud that Jose Canseco played for this team, it also makes you chuckle. That would be a good show. That you can make a Hall of Fame of the Hall of Famers that played for this team that came and had a cup of coffee with the Chicago White Sox.
Well, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but
I mean Hall of Fame type of superstar type player.
Oh yeah, he was a superstar. Yeah, well, they're going to give away one of those this year in bobblehead form with Ken Griffey Jr. But I saw Jose Canseco that 2001 year, went on a little trip to see the Sox play the Brewers. And he hit one. If it didn't leave the ballpark, like out of the actual ballpark, it came really close. It was a moonshot, a bomb. And that was exciting. If that's all that Jose Canseco era was for me, it was to witness that just absolute, just destroying of a baseball in Milwaukee.
You're absolutely correct. I'm looking at the uniform right now, the clean, all white, no pinstripe, which I like. I like the no pinstripe.
You and your brother Jeff love that no pinstripe. I've had many conversations with him. Yeah.
It's distracting to me. But yes, so if you Google exactly what Nick told you to Google, everyone, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was an absolute. That was a nice one. Hey, Howard brings up the turn back the clock game. I believe the Sox and my friend Dan O'Brien can confer on this. The Sox were the first team to do one of those turn back the clock games. I mean, they started that whole thing. I mean, we all know Vec started putting, names on the back of jerseys, I believe in 1960. So there's been a lot of fun gimmicks that the Sox were pioneers with. That turn back the clock game, I remember watching that as a kid. And they did it all, man. They did it all right. It was so cool to witness that. But yeah, more of that, please, in a year where we're going to see just some of these relievers, some of this nonsense, no offense. Try to make it fun somehow.
It's early though, Nick.
It is early. You're right. You're 100% right. Sox are 25th in pitching as we here record in the entire MLB. It's really a starters versus relievers situation. I think the starters are holding their own, and the relievers, especially when it comes to not getting balls over the plate. I hate that when a guy comes into a game and just starts walking.
Yeah.
They can't find the strike zone. That gets me going. And that happened a lot in Detroit. And you just feel like that's going to be the norm.
Well, when you're doing things by committee, Nick, and you're trying to figure out what roles guys can play, and you realize that nobody can play any role. I mean, you really kind of, when you're Venable, you really don't have much of a choice. It's like these are the guys that I have. I can't really rely on too much when I walk out onto the field, out to the mound to get somebody. It's like you're just hoping and praying, and it's a sinking feeling, and it's got to be hard for him as a first-time manager to take losses like that on the chin when you really there's what else can you really do? Because those are the horses that you've been provided with. So
in 2017 and 2018, I watched White Sox baseball in a way that was very unique. It was kind of the first way I was watching it like this, where I was watching more players, Pat, and I was watching more of, the players that I thought were going to be on the club when they actually were playoff ready. When they were ready to compete and be monsters in the division, as Hawk used to say. I'm trying to think about some of the players we currently have, especially in the pitching world. Which one of those, who should I be really watching for? Who's going to be around when this team flips it in 2030?
in 2032, these guys will be gone. I mean, they'll be on somebody else's organization or out of baseball.
Say it's in 3 years, somehow, some way. Maybe 2027, 2028. Is that possible where we might be able to sniff, a wild card? We're competitive until September, maybe. I mean, anybody on this club right now that's still going to be around in 2027, 2028? I don't think so.
I don't know, because it's really hard, because how you construct this team when you still really don't know a lot about any of these guys. It's going to be difficult, because, if I would think how they'd have to do it is through trade and development. They're not going out and signing guys. So it's really about, okay, we've got let's say we do have a logjam at catch. We've talked a little bit about the catching position and maybe it being a little bit deep there. Well, maybe we trade off one of these guys and pick up a couple guys here or there, and you hope that one or two of them succeeds. But when you really only have a depth at one position, you really aren't dealing from a state of power in order to build the rest of your organization or the rest of your team. So that's why it could take a long, long time, Nick, or it's going to be like you're not going to see it coming. Like it's just going to be a total surprise. I can't sit here and tell you, I'm not going to lie to you, Nick, or lie to the audience and say that I'd say bank on this guy. This is going to be the one that you want to watch, because one, I can't physically watch the games right now. I'm listening on the radio. So I can't.
And we've been wrong so many times, whether it's Vaughn or Mancada or, Dylan Cease and Crochet. I think we were all right on it, just with different uniforms.
I mean, maybe it is like a Corey Lee, Nick. Maybe it is one of these catchers that I would say this is going to be your anchor here, and this will be your guy.
Lenyn Sosa.
We've been talking about Lenyn Sosa, I feel like, for decades, but it hasn't been that long. I don't think that's a guy. I don't know. There's nothing about any of these guys that I go, wow, you got to kind of stop what you're doing and watch him. And I will go back a little bit on maybe my my talk on Abreu and say, wow, maybe he wasn't a superstar. But when he came up, he was a stop and watch guy. Like you stopped what you were doing, and especially his rookie season. And it's like you watched what that guy did, because he was such a dominant force at the plate for a long time, but specifically that year, and obviously in his MVP year in 2020. There's nobody on this team right now that you're just you have the game on the radio, or you have it on at home if you have the app or whatever, however you consume it. And you're going, oh, I have to stop what I'm doing right now, and I have to watch this player. There's nobody on this team that does that.
No, there's situations that come up, but there's no player. When he would come up, when Abreu would come up, it was, especially when the game was on the line or where there was runners in scoring position, he was a guy that you just felt like it absolutely can happen with Abreu. Like, this is the guy we want. With opening day happening for a lot of clubs, we had ours when baseball started. The Sox had their home opener, but a lot of clubs had to wait about a week. And I think this might have been that type of year for the Sox in 2014, where they didn't open. They opened on the road, but I was there. I was there for opening day, Sox home opener, 2014. And Abreu hit one out of the ballpark. It was against Minnesota. I was in the upper deck. I believe it was dead center, but that was, okay, here's this guy that we've heard about. Here's this guy that was our big get, that was like a superstar in Cuba. Oh, interesting. Okay, he's starting to show up already. And then we all know what happened that year and beyond. So I don't know where that guy is right now. I'll be watching. I'll be hoping. I want to see more of Lee. That's for sure. I want to see a lot less for a lot of other players, if that can be possible. But Sox have Cleveland up next, and then Boston. And I just mentioned Crochet's name, and he got paid. Boy, did he get paid! Something that the Sox were never going to do, unfortunately. But that's how an organization operates. They see pitching and they lock up pitching. And what was it, 170 million? Will we see Crochet? Will the Sox? Because I'll be watching for sure. I'll be watching, and if Crochet's in the mound, I'll be watching Crochet.
Yeah,
and that's what I'll be wanting to tune into, to see how he handles himself. Because I think he is a superstar in the making. I am so disappointed that we gave up on him. I get it. We got some things to possibly be excited about. Possibly. But I thought that was the real deal. Yes, there were some health concerns. Yes, he didn't have a ton of innings on his resume, but it just felt like it after last year. So we'll see. We'll see if Crochet is going to be on the bump for that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to monitor, and it's not going to go well for us. Let's just put it that way. That will be, you mark that down as a loss right now.
Oh, good. Well, it should be an interesting week and a more interesting episode next Sunday night. We've got the quote of the week here I'll get to in just a moment. Want to thank everybody for joining us live, jumping in the comments. We had some great discussions going on tonight. Some
very lively in the chat.
Yeah, loved it. Loved the back and forth. I mean, within the chat, loved the questions, loved the comments, great ideas. Man, it is fun rubbing shoulders with like-minded people, and we get to do this every Sunday night live. Join us, subscribe to the YouTube page, but the audio available absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We're on social media at Good Guys TB. Pat, I feel better. But I'm going to need to see a different kind of week to really, really feel better.
Well, they as you mentioned, they go to Cleveland and then they play Boston. When we record again, will they have another win on the board, or will they go over?
No, I think they'll get one win.
You think so?
I think they get one.
Okay,
one, maybe two, maybe one in Cleveland, one in Boston.
Man, the bars are so low.
122 is still on the table. Trey and I talked a little bit about it on social media. When you've got zero offense and when you got a bullpen the way that we do, 122 is definitely still a possibility. I'm trying to will that to not happen, but
you have to win more than once a week, I guess.
There you go.
In order for that to happen.
All right, here's your quote of the week. This is about Will Venable. So a lot of love. I don't know if you've read or heard any of this about, Venable's been getting some love.
Oh yeah,
how he's been handling himself and his presence, and so I think players are noticing there's a vibe. The vibe is different. The outcome,
the vibes,
not so much. You got to have a guy to follow, and he's a guy to follow. Davis Martin said about Will Venable. He's a player's guy. He has the respect from everybody in this locker room from what he did with his career over the course of the 9 seasons he was in the big leagues. He knows how it's done, been around a lot. He's won a World Series as a bench coach, and it's just like, what is there not to respect about what he does? I never remember hearing a quote with that tone in regards to Pedro Grifol. So that is something different. There, you want different.
It's got to be out there. It's got to be out there.
I read, in all of my time at Locked On, all the stuff that we did, I read a lot of Pedro Grifol quotes. It's why quote of the week was started, because of our old fearless leader Grifol. I never remember anybody speaking that highly about a Grifol so early, especially in his major league managerial career. I mean, again, Venable has never managed. He's been on a lot of teams, done a lot of things, but he's never been a manager. And Davis Martin, boy, all kinds of excited about Will Venable.
That's great. I mean, I've heard similar things, right? That you've just read, that players are liking him. They're liking the leadership. He's getting a lot of high marks. But at some point, will this year age him? We've talked about the effect of, how the office ages a president. How will this year age a Will Venable, and will it suck his spirit from him? I hope not. I'm rooting for him, as I rooted for Pedro early on, because I seemingly, I kind of liked a lot of things I heard from Pedro early on until I realized that he was terrible. So, I hope he can keep his head above water, because it's going to be a tough year for him.
Yeah, there's no other way to say it. Thank you again, everybody, for jumping in. Howard, it sounds like you've got a birthday coming up. Really appreciate your support, and you have a good birthday. I think just before our next episode. So Sox will be back home soon. Get out that promo schedule, see what you could be interested in. I will not be in the ballpark probably till May at least for that Dick Allen bobblehead and May 3rd. So
gotcha.
A couple weeks away. But all right. Hey, for Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.